How filthy the Mongol people were under Emperor Genghis Khan. The biggest continuous land empire ever was built by the Mongols. The Mongol Empire, which Genghis Khan established in 1206, covered all of Asia, a portion of Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. The Mongols were warriors and rulers who made it possible for many cultures, languages, and religion systems to coexist. While their achievements have long been recognized, so too have their distinctive hygiene customs. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video so we can make more videos like this in the future. William of Rubruck, a Franciscan missionary, traveled extensively across the Mongol Empire in the 1250s and kept a journal of his journeys. In his description of Mongol hairstyles, Rubruck noted that males shaved portions of their heads, necks, and the forehead as far as the crown of the head, among other places. Then braids were made out of the long hair on the sides of their heads. The fronts of women's heads were also shaved when they were married, and the rest of their hair was grown out long. They fill their mouths with water, which they allow flow over their hands, and they also wet their hair and wash their heads in this way. Rubruck added, when they wished to wash their hands or their head, the Mongols had strict hair-washing customs because they revered water and didn't want to displease it. Genghis Khan ordered that people were to be put to death if any water touched their face and then returned to the water source, according to documents written during the Mongol era. Therefore, it could be reasonable to assume that the system was created to stop the Mongols from pouring water back into the source. Arrow wounds were common among the Mongols. Genghis Khan was wounded multiple times, but was kept alive thanks to the hard work of the soldiers who diligently drew blood from his wounds. The secret history of the Mongols, written in the 13th century, claims that when Genghis Khan had an uncontrollably bleeding neck wound, his servant Jelmi sucked out the blood which he drank or spit out. Genghis Khan requested a drink, so Jelmi went in search of kumis, which he gave the Khan, likely to prevent dehydration after spending the previous night preventing deadly blood clots. Many once religious taboos were given legal significance by Genghis Khan, and the Mongols severely forbade urinating in flowing water or within a building out of concern about upsetting spirits. If someone defecated in water either on purpose or not, they would be executed. Mongols were severely penalized for unintentional peeing, and the money was used to clean the offended party's house and property. However, no one dares enter the home or remove anything from it prior to that cleanup. For the Mongols, water was holy, and tampering with or contaminating it was a crime. Because of the threat of thunderstorms, it was forbidden to wash one's hands or body during the spring or summer. One of the greatest transgressions, though, was discharging bodily fluids into a stream, river, or other similar body of water. Mongols were forbidden from washing clothes in running water. Some scholars interpret the mandate to only apply during thunderstorms, but William of Rubruck thought it was out of fear that washing their clothes caused thunderstorms. They never wash clothes, Rubruck wrote, for they say that God would be angered thereat, and that it would thunder if they hung them up to dry. Thunder they fear extraordinarily, and when it thunders, they will turn out of their dwellings all strangers, wrap themselves in belt felt, and thus hide themselves till it has passed away. One of the soldiers suffered a shoulder injury when the Mongols assaulted Cheyang in 1274 in an endeavor to topple the Song dynasty. One of Kublai Khan's most dependable commanders, Bayan, gave the order after he was struck by an arrow once again. That person sliced open a water buffalo's belly and placed the person inside. Then, after quite some time, he came to. Both water buffalo and oxen were used because their bodies provide vital warmth. Mongols placed a high value on herding animals, which suggests that only males of aristocratic position engaged in the activity. The Mongols recognized contamination and the value of excluding strangers while unwell, despite their ignorance of germ theory and the mechanisms underlying disease. William of Rubruck claimed that the Mongols would treat a sick member of the Grand Family or Ordu, install watchmen all around the Ordu who forbid anybody from crossing those boundaries. They are afraid that if someone enters, an evil spirit or wind will accompany them. However, they make a call to their priests, who also happen to be soothsayers. Genghis Khan put absolute trust in his generals, such as Mukhali, Jibi, and Subutai, and regarded them as close advisors, often extending them the same privileges and trust normally reserved for close family members. He allowed them to make decisions on their own when they embarked on campaigns far from the Mongol Empire capital, Karakoram. Mukhali, a trusted lieutenant, was given command of the Mongol forces against the Jin dynasty when Genghis Khan was fighting in Central Asia, and Subutai and Jibi were allowed to pursue the Great Raid into the Caucasus and Kievan Rus, an idea they had presented to the Khagan on their own initiative. While granting his generals a great deal of autonomy in making command decisions, Genghis Khan also expected unwavering loyalty from them. The Mongol military was also successful in siege warfare, cutting off resources from cities and towns by diverting certain rivers, taking enemy prisoners and driving them in front of the army, and adopting new ideas, techniques, and tools from the people they conquered, particularly in employing Muslim and Chinese siege engines and engineers to aid the Mongol cavalry in capturing cities. Another standard tactic of the Mongol military was the commonly practiced fiend retreat, to break enemy formations and to lure small enemy groups away from the larger group and defended position for ambush and counterattack. Another important aspect of the military organization of Genghis Khan was the communication and supply route, or YAM, adapted from the previous Chinese models. Genghis Khan dedicated special attention to this in order to speed up the gathering of military intelligence and official communications. To this end, YAM way stations were established all over the empire. The Mongols strove to distance themselves from being polluted by whatever the sick person had done to cause their affliction, while simultaneously associating illness with spiritual dysfunction. However, they also recognized that bringing diseased bodies into a city under siege would result in sickness and devastation. According to the historian Gabriel de Mussis, the Mongols threw mountains of the corpses when they conquered Kaffa in 1346. Because of the rot and putridity of the bodies, the whole of the air inside Kaffa was contaminated and the water poisoned. And so strong grew the smell that only 1 out of 1,000 survived to try to flee the Mongol army. The Mongol Empire was governed by a civilian and military code called the Yasa, created by Genghis Khan. The Mongol Empire did not emphasize the importance of ethnicity and race in the administrative realm, instead adopting an approach grounded in meritocracy. The Mongol Empire was one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse empires in history, as befitted its size. Many of the empire's nomadic inhabitants considered themselves Mongols in military and civilian life, including the Mongol people, Turkish people, and others. There were Khans of various non-Mongolian ethnicities, such as Muhammad Khan. There were tax exemptions for religious figures, and to some extent, teachers and doctors. The Mongol Empire practiced religious tolerance because Mongol tradition had long held that religion was a personal concept and not subject to law or interference. Genghis Khan was a Tengrist, but was religiously tolerant and interested in learning philosophical and moral lessons from other religions. He consulted Buddhist monks, including the Zen monk Haiyun, Muslims, Christian missionaries, and the Taoist monk Chuji. Sometime before the rise of Genghis Khan, Ong Khan, his mentor and eventual rival, had converted to Nestorian Christianity. Various Mongol tribes were shamanist, Buddhist, or Christian. Religious tolerance was thus a well-established concept on the Asian steppe.